Let's go over some of the technologies we're going to be using in this course. The technologies we're going to use to build our REST API are VirtualBox, Vagrant, Python, Django, Django REST Framework, Atom, Git, and Mod Headers Chrome extension. All of these will work together to produce our working REST API. To better explain how they fit together, I've divided them into three categories. Category 1, development server. Number 2, application code. And number 3, tools. As we write our code, we'll want to test it on our machine. Many developers run code directly on their local operating system. This may be the quickest way to get going, but it can create a number of problems when working on real-world apps, such as making collaboration with other developers extremely difficult. Problems when trying to run our app on different operating systems, such as Windows and Mac. Problems with our development app conflicting with applications we have installed on our machine. Over time, it can clog up our machine with dev tools and packages. And finally, we're running our code on a completely different operating system than will be used on a production server. That's why professional programmers always run their code on a local development server to isolate their code from their local desktop. It's best practice, so we'll be doing it here in this course by using the following tools. The first tool we'll use is Vagrant. Vagrant allows us to describe what kind of server we need for our app. We can then save the config as a Vagrant file, which allows us to easily reproduce and share the same server with other developers. Once we've told Vagrant what kind of server we need, it will use an application called VirtualBox to create our virtual server exactly as we describe. This means our application code and requirements are installed and running on a virtual server, completely isolated from our local desktop. This has many benefits, such as it makes it easier to share code with others. Regardless of what operating system we're running our code on, we will have the exact same version of all the requirements for our app. We can test our code using exactly the same operating system and requirements that will be used on a real production server. And finally, we can easily create and destroy the server as we need, making it easier to clean up. The second set of tools we will use to write our application code. To build our app, we're going to use Python as the programming language. We will use Python to write the logic for our application. On top of Python, we're going to use a Python framework called Django. Django is a web framework for Python. While most websites look different on the surface, there are a number of things they all have in common. For example, most websites use data from a database to render HTML that the web browser can understand and translate into something that makes sense to the human eye. Most websites display images, videos, and other media from the server. Django contains a predefined set of code that we can use to perform some of these common actions, like interacting with the database, returning pages and images, validating user form submissions, and so on and so on. This saves us an incredible amount of time and helps us make apps in a standardized way that can be understood by other developers. On top of Django, we're going to use another framework called the Django REST framework. Similar to how Django provides features for building a standard web app, Django REST framework provides a set of features for making a standard REST API. We are going to use a few development tools to help us write and manage our code. First, we will use Atom, which is an open source text editor made by GitHub. Atom is my favorite editor because of its repository of plugins which are written by the huge developer community. We're also going to use Git. Git is a version control system. It helps us track the changes that we make to our code. And finally, we're going to use a Chrome extension called Mod Headers, which allows us to modify the HTTP headers when we're testing our API. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you found it useful, and I'll see you in the next lesson.